Yeah, I got the plan, I got the fam, I got the keys, I get the work. I am the man, you know what I'm saying, so leave it to me, cause I get it first. Yeah, whew, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm right around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drummer, that's word to my mama, I'll cover you up like a tombstone. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work, if you work and it's fun. We on the winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We can do, ayy, we coming up from the dirt, ayy. They're trying to get us to fall, ayy. I don't even gotta flex now, boy, it's only win by the fault, ayy. Taking off with the ring, ain't nothing left, man. We the kings, ran with the team, ran with the dream, ran with the one fan in the seats. Ayy, I pay my dues, check the receipt. Looking at you already peaked. Way back then. You can't follow with my tracks, man. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work, if you work and it's fun. We on the winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on the winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up.
1 round down and 2 races in the books as the playoffs stride deep into the Desert Valley. With that, we welcome you to KBRN's live coverage of the second race of the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series round of 8 from the virtual Phoenix Raceway and the Arizona landscape all around. Joining along with you to the championship is myself, Kenneth Bueno, and Francisco Bacalao alongside as always. And Francisco, we're now in the midst of this round of 8 after Cole Williams locked himself into the championship 4 by virtue of winning at Kansas last week. So 3 spots are left and there's not a lot of time left either.
Yeah, happy to be up here in the booth with you, Kenneth. And as you mentioned, Cole Williams, our winner last week at Kansas, and that was an exciting finish. He was able to get the win and lock himself into the championship. Today is another opportunity for some of these guys to be able to win themselves a spot in the championship with the likes of, for example, Parker White, Aiden Kirker, Josh Duke, Brady Wheeleman, and several others. So it'll be interesting. We'll have to see how this race shapes up and what problems may arise in the middle of a race that may hamper somebody from potentially making it, but we're going to be here to cover it and bring that to everyone.
Great point. I mentioned Cole Williams with that win. He will be securely fighting for a title at Homestead, and here is a look at what the playoff outlook is like after last week, the checkered flag at Kansas. Lots of drivers trading hands in this group, and there's still a fight to really be put up here. There's 4 drivers there at elimination. We'll see, obviously, Cole Williams. You see him advance to the championship 4. There's Aiden Kirker, Parker White, Michael Kenner. Those are currently the drivers sitting in on points. Remember, Michael Kenner is not here for this race tonight, so that definitely will change in terms of some drivers that are here tonight, with Josh Duke, Brady Wheeleman being some of those drivers. Colby Wells is out with an apparent injury, so he won't be able to make it. All the well wishes to him in his recovery. But in terms of this race, it is going to be a different challenge, Francisco, now, because this track, we have been here before, so it's definitely not unfamiliar, but it's also not one of the easiest tracks to be around. You know, you're going throttle control seems to be the biggest thing in these heavy NASCAR Cup Series cars, and the low downforce, high horsepower package. So it definitely is really something to gaggle on, really something to handle when it comes to this racetrack, especially with the hot track surface.
Oh yeah, no doubt. This is one of the few tracks that I do own on iRacing, and I've driven a couple laps here just to see what it's like. And exactly to your point, everything what you said was correct. The low downforce, the high engine power that you got here, it makes it really difficult on the tires, especially when you come here with high track temperatures. It'll heat up the tires, and when you're trying to heat them up and they're cold, it'll cause more problems. So it's always a watch for your tires, how much the car is sliding, the throttle control. It's very difficult. You'd think this is a cookie cutter track, you know, left into the dog leg, another left, and you're back at the line. But this track is much more difficult than it presents to be.
Definitely going to be something to go as we move on. And as you see the drivers on there with the grid right behind the iRacing official pace car, it's our time to take a look at your starting grid. See exactly where your favorite driver and every other driver will be starting their race tonight. On the pole is Cole Williams in the number 42. He advances to the championship 4 already with the win last week, but he's already keeping strong with the pole here tonight. And right alongside him, the number 95, another playoff hopeful, hoping for a championship 4 berth with a win tonight, Parker White, starting on the outside of row number 1.
Yeah, going back to the second row, we have Aiden Kirker, who's looking to lock himself a spot into the championship 4, and a teammate in Josh Duke. So EMR guys in the top 3 and in that second row looking to try and capture a win to advance into the next round.
Shane Manitoba and the Flying Arrows machine will start tonight from 5th. Brady Wheeleman will be 6th. We'll look through the rest of the field since it is rather short. Jaden Lawson will start from 7th. Eli O'Quinn will start from 8th, and we'll have the rest practically that entire field. Brianna Lavin seems to be the last driver on there, but as the pace car sets off, we'll be up and away off turn 4, and we are playoff racing from Phoenix.
Thank you for that, by the way. They weren't going that.
A good start by defending race winner here from last week. Cole Williams, he takes the lead into turn 1 from pole position. Parker White will file out in second. You see Shane DiMantola, who's got a spin in the back. It's Josh Duke.
Josh Duke around. That could be the cause of the yellow flag, and indeed that is. So stopped on the racetrack with heavy damage to the right side of that Toyota Camry. Caution waves on lap number 1. And we'll have a replay just for you very, very shortly. As he had the yellow flag there starting. I believe he might have had some help. Not sure whether this was all by himself. This was him. Actually did get some help along the way. That might have been a sandwich there with Brady Weileman. I think Jaden Lawson, who just cut that dog leg down to the bottom. See him go up the track, get into the 32. The 51 also follows. And the 32 goes around to the outside wall with damage already. That's one of the playoff hopefuls looking for a berth tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like the 76 just missed the entry. And on top of that, the 51 was right behind Josh. So an unfortunate situation to be in. It didn't look like he got that great off the line, but an unfortunate situation. The only bright side is that it is early, so you have time, but damage early is never fun.
It's definitely not fun, especially when it comes to a playoff driver who is still trying to pounce on some of the drivers who are not here tonight. Dylan Basin, Kobe Wells, obviously those drivers are not here in this race, so obviously they will not get really any points for their start here at Phoenix Raceway, so that definitely could hurt their chances. Will help Josh Duke, but of course it's not the best way to start off this race, especially with another playoff driver fighting behind him. He was fighting for position. That was Brady Weileman in the number 51. And as you're looking through this field, of course, you'll notice some of the different banners that we'll see throughout this race and especially throughout these playoffs, and that is the difference between the playoff drivers and the non-playoff drivers. If you want to look at the playoff drivers, you can look at this orange banner. You can find that orange banner on the top of their windshields, and especially the orange spoiler right behind. That is your indication that these are the playoff drivers running for a championship in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series. All the other drivers that are not in the championship have just the standard black windshield and black spoilers, or could be a different color spoiler depending on the race car paint scheme itself. But in terms of the playoff drivers, you'll be finding those orange banners, orange spoilers along the way. Those are playoff drivers running for that championship. We do have 3 playoff drivers in this top 3. That's Cole Williams, Parker White, Aiden Kirker. Of course, this top 3 relatively unchanged from that first lap, since it just was the first lap. We only made it about 3/4 of the way through this track before we got that yellow flag. So we'll have to get this one again. We'll re-rack the field, try it once more to attempt a green flag run. 100 laps in the books going to be set for tonight. So it is a relatively long race under the sun. And we'll see just how this works. So we'll try it once again. We'll try another shot at a green flag. It'll be the first restart of the race, and it'll be Cole Williams, Parker White once again on the front row. We'll be back on the loud pedal, and we're back under green from Phoenix.
Another good start there by Cole Williams, able to get out to a lead. Parker White fighting away with Aiden Kirker for the 2nd spot. Shane DiMantova in pursuit of those two, and Brady Weileman back there in the 5th spot. So far, so good on this restart. You see there, Parker White clears Aiden Kirker for 2nd. Shane DiMantova has a bit of a look around the outside of Aiden.
Oh, and Aiden very loose off turn 4, and even more so, Jaden Lawson already around. Hard contact to the outside wall, collecting both Eli O'Quinn and Josh Duke. And a caution waves once again. Huge crash off turn 4. Was watching Aiden Kirker just save that race car, but then all of a sudden, Jaden Lawson comes sprawling into the picture on the back and has a huge hit to the outside wall. And we'll take a look. This is our 2nd yellow once again on lap number 6.
Ooh, looks like he got a little bit of apron. And wow, he got a little bit of an apron there, and just was no recovering from that. Unfortunate for Josh. I believe Josh Duke got involved in this one too. Yeah. And the 98 of Eli O'Quinn. They had nowhere to go.
Here's your onboard cam right as Jaden hits the outside wall, just trying to swerve out of it, and there's no space really to get around the spinning race car of that 76. That was your immediate onboard camera shot with him, and even more damage to supplement for that number 32. So he'll try it once more to go down pit road, and again he is on pit road with some of the other drivers that did get damage. Eli O'Quinn also down pit road, but I think Aiden Kirker also took his shot, so he will take some tires. I think he thought the car was just a little bit loose, maybe make some adjustments on that race car. Meanwhile, everybody does stay out for the most part. Just a quick reminder that if you want to join the conversation with us up in the KBRN booth, you can do so by using hashtag AskKBRN. You can put your question followed by that hashtag. You can ask anything you like, of course, within appropriate reasons. So you can use that, and we'll answer it just as soon as you send it. That's hashtag AskKBRN for anything you want to ask.
You know, I want to make a point. So we saw Jaden Lawson get into that yellow line, kind of peek under the apron. And you've seen in real life, especially in Phoenix in the championship race in the entire weekend, last weekend, they were able to run down there in the flat part of what is 3 and 4 here, but 1 and 2 in real life. In 3 and 4, they're able to go down there in the flat, but not on iRacing. There's just no grip down there to really run effectively. So you clip that yellow line and you get under into that flat part, and it's really going to cause your car to get loose, as we just saw there with Jaden.
Yeah, we see a lot of drivers, and of course, in real life, if you saw the Phoenix NASCAR Championship weekend, obviously saw a lot of drivers, especially on fresh rubber. They go all the way to the apron under that yellow line to get some sort of grip, make some sort of moves down to the inside. Of course, on the iRacing platform, it's not necessarily impossible, but it's not really easy to do so either. It's probably more preferable to stay over that yellow line on the top and stay on the racing surface for the most part to get any sort of grip, any sort of potential advantage to any of the drivers that you're trying to battle. We'll try it once more. The green flag run had some drivers go down pit road. Cole Williams, Parker White still at the head of this field. It's been like that ever since the drop of the green flag. We'll try it once more to restart as Cole Williams, this time with another huge restart. He's going to get an advantage and might be a battle for second between White and DiMantovo. They'll single file out, though, for the most part, and Parker White will try to fight over to Cole Williams and at least try to get open within the next couple laps or so.
Yeah, Jaden Lawson's been on pit road since the caution came out, and I think we've lost Eli O'Quinn. So we're down a couple drivers already before lap 10. So a bit of attrition early on. We'll see if this stays true or if we'll finally get some green flag races. We can see back there Aiden Kirker and Brady Wildman side by side for the 4th spot, as the top 3 have kind of pulled away from them and are equally distant.
So top 3 have practically broken away from the rest of this field, but it might not be holding for too long, as Aiden Kirker did get some fresh tires, although the wear on the tires up front in terms of the top 3 drivers isn't probably too significant, considering they only ran a couple laps under the green flag before all those yellows were triggered at the beginning of this race. So we'll see how far Aiden can come up on these fresh tires. But meanwhile, I think Parker White has finally broken the gap between himself and the 42 of Cole Williams. So we might have a battle for the race lead, as DiMantovo might have to defend against Kirker in the meantime.
Parker White threw the car into turn 1. I don't know if you saw that. He just was sideways, and he gained a lot of ground. And also sideways off turn 2 was Shane DiMantovo all the way through the dog leg. So these guys are fighting for grip, trying to control that throttle. And you see there Parker White once again going right to the bottom as Cole runs about half a lane off. Parker White, another big gain. So we're going to have a battle for the lead here. And as I've mentioned before, it seems like it's Cole Williams, Parker White, and you see Aiden Kirker back there about to attack Shane DiMantovo. So it seems like it's always these 3 battling for the win here.
And these 3 have been the most dominant as of late. Of course, Aiden Kirker, Cole Williams, the 2 drivers that started this season on Going Low Racing, moved to Media Racing with a merger later in the season, but they have attended practically every race in the season ever since we started covering all the way to Daytona 500 in the beginning of the season, Francisco. And then obviously Parker White joined a little bit later, but he was just dominant from the get-go, just joining the season in his debut, took a checkered flag, and ever since that has already picked a couple of wins up to his resume, and he has been dominant. And remember, these 2, if you've watched the KBueno Racing Network, if you're an avid watcher of this network specifically in the races and the leagues we cover, you will not be surprised to see as Parker White very loose in a 1 and 2, already struggled with the race car. That definitely will grow the gap between himself and Cole Williams. But these 2, especially the top 2, they've been familiar with this racetrack. They've been familiar competing against each other, because if you watch the season finale of the Bunch of Lawn Care Series, it was right at this track at the exact same time of day. Cole Williams took the win in that race late in. Obviously, Parker White was running for a championship in the Bunch of Lawn Care Series there and had a heartbreaking end, but he was also performing fairly dominant against the top drivers of Blaze McKinney, Nick Miller, and of course Glenn Bungen. Those were the championship for the other drivers that he was competing with at the time. But these 2 know how to work around each other, as now Aiden Kirker got by Shane DiMantovo, so he might try to look into this podium spot, or maybe even the top 2 within the next couple laps or so.
Yeah, it's going to come down to who can control their car the best and save tires. And as I've mentioned before on a broadcast here, the guy who's best at saving tires is currently leading. So that's double trouble for everybody because right now he can save tires and keep the lead. So right now, Aiden took tires on that last pit stop. As you can see here, he's going to the inside of Parker White. Parker's going to give him the spot because he's been struggling these last couple laps. So move the other EMR car up to second as they are 1-2 right now.
Top three scoured with Toyota as you find the Chevy in fourth and Shane DiMantova. So now Kirker will move to second. So that'll be another Williams-Kirker 1-2. And again, Williams is locked into the championship 4, so he does not need to win this race specifically. He can just hang around. He can even finish last in this race, and he'll be okay. So he is already pretty much advancing to this championship 4 with that win at Kansas last week. And what a finish that was, Francisco. I know you and I were kind of on the edge of our seat there watching that race. That was a lot of fun with a different package. Of course, this is a different animal. This is a different beast. And we saw a green white checkered earlier this year when we went to Phoenix Raceway just after, a little bit after Daytona. I believe it was after Phoenix early in the season where we saw this track. It was different conditions. It was under the lights, but it was a phenomenal finish between Blaze McKinney and Cole Williams in a green white checkered thriller. Obviously, Cole Williams took the best out of that one. He ended up picking his first win of the season there, so he knows what it's like to win here. But again, these top two occupying the first two spots. Parker did fall to fourth, but it's a very large gap over to Shane DiMantova, who now could be under pressure from playoff hopeful Brady Wallerman.
Yeah, you can see he's been losing a lot of ground, but Aiden Kirker right now has slowly and steadily been catching his teammate for the lead. Remember, he does have just a little bit fresher tires. I don't know if he's been using them up just a bit just to get up here, but nonetheless, about a couple laps fresher tires should help him continue to grind into that lead. So we might be a couple laps away from a battle for the lead between teammates.
And we could possibly also see some drivers head down pit road. Again, we just breached lap number 20. There's an 100-lap race to go through, so we still have a long way to go. We could possibly see pit stops go down the road as the tires start to wear out. We possibly would see a fuel strategy at some point. We probably will see drivers do go down pit road, so it probably will be inevitable for a good amount of these drivers to go down pit road. Again, no tire sets, so no significant difference there. You can have unlimited tires, which is the best part. I think compared to real life, you don't have to pay for those tires. You could just kind of slap them on as many times as you want, infinite amount of times. You have them all to your benefit and you have them all to your disposal. But we probably will see some strategy playing in this race, especially in a long green flag run. But you did say this correctly. He is slowly catching up to Cole Williams, and the last time now it's a .366 gap between first and second. So that 39 with those fresh rubber and the fresh tires down below, probably going to be someone to watch for now for the lead.
Yeah, right. That last time by, he was about 4/10 quicker than Cole Williams. So Aiden is really starting to catch, or 3/10, excuse me. But you can physically see the gap starting to close. And I want to talk about the strategy that you mentioned. I just don't know if we'll see anybody pit under green unless they absolutely have to, because you could easily lose a lap, maybe even two, by pitting under green here. So maybe no green flag pit stops unless we get a long enough run to where they have to. But in the current space of time, I do not believe that they'll be coming down pit road.
Probably not anytime soon, but we'll just keep our eyes peeled for that just in case it does happen if we continue to have a long green flag run. We did have the spur of 2 quick yellows to start this race, but ever since it's been cleaned off the route and separated, and right now you're looking at the battle for fourth. This is between Shane DiMantova and playoff driver Brady Wallerman. Brady Wallerman came into this race at risk of elimination. He was below the cut line going into Kansas. He's below the cut line going into Phoenix. Saw one driver actually very loose there. That was Josh Duke, who got the repairs on his race car, but had a wild ride there. Through 1 and 2, he's able to save it. But back to what I was saying about Brady Wallerman. He's one of those drivers who is fighting to get over that cut line. He's been with his back against the wall this entire round. And for a good amount of these playoffs, he's had his back against the wall below the playoff cut line. He's met himself at the bubble already in the round of 12, already in the round of 8. He's fairly close to that bubble. And especially a driver like Brady Wallerman and drivers like Josh Duke who are below the cut line, this is crucial. This is necessary, this type of race. And with the performance of how Josh Duke, the struggles that he's gone through early tonight, and now Brady Wallerman, he has a little bit of damage falling back. I'm not sure whether this could really help them or whether this is just not too much to gain to get over the cut.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's on from now on the end of the race, because it's never over until it's over. But trying to get a quick look here at the points. Right now, as it stands, before entering this race, Weileman was a couple points behind from Michael Kenner, who is not in this race. So Michael Kenner will most likely fall out of the top 4. And Colby Walls is not here. I believe he has an injury, unfortunately, and Dylan Basin was unable to make it. So it looks as though the final spot will come down to Brady Weileman and Josh Duke, barring anybody outside getting a win next week, because they're not here today.
We got a caution on the racetrack. That was Shane DiMantovo. Saw him fall below Brady Weileman and Josh Duke in the running order, and then took a look at him. He was around in the middle of 1 and 2, so that brings our 3rd yellow of the race for that number 20 Flying Arrows machine. We'll just take a replay in to see exactly what the specific cause was. We have seen Francisco, a lot of drivers get loose in 1 and 2. Maybe this could have been the case. We'll just have to look.
Yeah, it happened in the center of 1 and 2. He just got a little bit sideways, and the car came around him. And
oh, and look how close he gets to the outside wall. Had to accelerate the car just to refrain from even tapping the outside wall. There's Josh Duke getting by. And DiMantovo with no damage. He escapes with no damage, so luckily he won't have to really do anything apart from maybe replace the tires, who are now flat spotted. But I think he'll be okay for the time being. He will lose track position in the process. And meanwhile, actually everyone on the lead lap is down pit road. So Williams, Kirker, White, Weileman, Duke, DiMantovo, and now Josh. Actually, yeah, that's pretty much all the drivers on the lead lap. They're making their trips down pit road.
yeah, this is going to be crucial. Let's see who can get on and off pit road, have the best service, because Parker White really needed this caution. He had fallen way off from these leaders. Aiden Kirker probably wanted a couple more green flag laps to potentially get by his teammate and take the lead, but now it's going to be on the hands of their pit crew, who can perform the job the best and get in and out as efficiently as possible. The jacks are getting ready to drop here, and it looks as though Cole Williams will maintain the lead off pit road. Aiden Kirker will keep second, so will Parker White keeping third. So no changes up at the front.
Well, there is a change a little bit further back, because Josh Duke just picked up a spot, and that could be a crucial spot, a critical spot on Brady Weileman there. And you did talk about the points with some of the drivers being absent here tonight or in this race. It is gonna mean a lot more for Duke and Weileman to have that shot, gain those points, and get over the cut line to be able to position themselves in a spot to fight for a title when we get to Homestead in 2 weeks' time. So Duke does get the spot. He will occupy 4th on the racetrack, but he will start to the outside. I believe we have not gotten the 1 green signal, so we'll just wait a little bit longer. How about we get our KBRN in-race reporter, and we'll actually get Aiden Kirker in here. He is our in-race reporter, which is Kelan Belsha last time. We'll bring Aiden Kirker in this time. He is your KBRN in-race reporter. And first of all, Aiden, welcome to the KBRN booth. You got a copy with us?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, Aiden. Well, of course, you're our in-race reporter for this coverage. We finally got a yellow to give a break in the action, but saw you took tires a little bit earlier in this race compared to the rest of the field. Obviously, you guys are now on equal footing, but just kind of an initial question, what seems to be the most outstanding thing about this race car? What seems to be the most notable thing about this race car as we've progressed through this run so far?
Just the right rear. Right rear is kind of, really take care of that. That's why I pit. Took 4 tires early just to kind of save a couple percent on that right rear. Just kind of being patient with the car, really adjusting it here and there so it's not getting loose on entry, and then really just babying it around the track. It doesn't really have a lot of grip right now, but it's been fun so far. I feel really good. I know towards the end of that run, I started to really slow it down just so I can save a little bit more, because I thought we were going to go a little bit longer, but then we got the caution about 2 laps later after I thought about that. But we should be good to the end on fuel, but just hoping for a green run to the end here and a good battle with Cole for the win.
All right, Aiden, well, we'll see you're going to get the green flag in just a little bit off turn 3 and 4. So we wish you the best of luck, and we'll see what you can do on the racetrack.
All right, thank you.
That's Aiden Kirker, your in-race reporter here on the KBueno Racing Network for this race at Phoenix Raceway from the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And I was going to ask him a little bit more, but we did get a little bit of a time constraint due to this. So now pace car will head to the safety of pit road. We'll have Kirker and Williams on the front row. Parker White a little bit further back in row number 2. And as soon as we get to the front straightaway, and we are back under green from Phoenix.
Another good launch by Cole Williams. He will keep the lead by a good margin. Aiden Kirker and Parker White are left to be side by side for the second spot. Parker White on the inside using that dog leg to try and gain spots as they're 3 wide behind them in the middle of the dog leg. But that'll quickly funnel out here as they get to turn number 3 and 4. As you see Josh Duke in that 4th spot ahead of those other two, one of which he is racing to try and get into the final spot for the championship.
So now Demantova splits those two, so he gets by Weileman. That is for 5th. So Weileman will fall back into 6th on this exchange. Duke will hold on to 4th. Parker White, meanwhile, moved up to 2nd. And we did see Parker kind of give a little bit of a charge to the leader, but ever since he got loose through this race, it's been hard for him to really catch back up. Ever since Aiden Kirker got by, he fell back about a couple of seconds behind the race leader, but here could be his shot under this run with the fresh tires to his advantage, or at least to everyone's advantage, since it's all equal from here on out. He may have cut the gap just a little bit, and now it's a 2-car breakaway as Duke is in a 3-car battle with Shane Demantova and Brady Weileman.
Yeah, it looks as though Parker Wright has probably got his car a little bit better set up to be quicker on this short run, because we saw him once a couple laps got on the tires that previous run, he was really struggling with the grip on it. You see all over the back of that 42 car as they go into 1 and 2. What will he try to do? He backs up his corner just a little bit. He's going to try and cross it over just a tad here and look to the inside in the dog leg. You see he's going to use it up side by side for the lead. Not quite, but he's going to get there into 3 and 4.
He's going to find the space to the inside. Question is, can he make the best of it, and can he get to the race lead? For now, the answer seems to be yes, but Cole Williams does hold on to the outside. Pretty sure they were even there. I think Parker did lead that lap, but now for sure, Parker takes over the lead at lap number 36. Does Cole have an answer? We'll just have to see, but new race leader for the first time tonight.
Yeah, I think Cole Williams right now is just trying to save his tires, thinking of the long game here. Aiden Kirker back there stalking these two, so I think he's just like, all right, Parker, I'm going to let you go here, let you use your stuff up, and I'll catch you later when it matters more.
This is a very interesting battle here. There's Shane Demantova, who gains positions, now lost. Weileman and Duke are battling for position. This is for a top 4 spot, and obviously could be the difference in terms of making and missing the championship 4. Now Demantova will find his way under Duke, as Weileman, I think, has a little bit of a break to run away with this for now. This seems to be the biggest battle on the racetrack. This 3-car train here seems to have filed out just a little bit. And back out front, I think the gap has kind of grown just a little bit, Francisco.
Yeah, it looks like we got the battle of 3s. We got a 3-car battle for the lead, and we have a 3-car battle for 4th. So, well, these people that are in their respective battles are probably going to stay there for the most part. So we'll see these 3 probably battling for the win, barring any strategies or incidents that could happen from here on out. And we'll see those other 3 battling for that 4th spot, barring any incidents or whatever may happen between now and the end. So it looks as though the race, the way it's unfolding, we're starting to see what direction it's going. And so right now, Parker White is leading, Cole Williams is in 2nd, and Aiden Kirker is in 3rd. That's our top 3, and they seem to be the top 3 in most of these races as of late and in these playoffs. So we'll see what happens here. Cole Williams has started to maintain the gap just a little bit. Might be those tires he's been saving starting to kick in just a little bit. So I wouldn't count out Cole Williams from that lead just yet if this stays green for another 10 or 15 laps.
Yeah, we'll see how this develops. We'll keep our eyes peeled. Of course, this isn't our forefront, so we will see definitely if Cole Williams will save enough or if Parker used a little bit too much under his equipment here, especially in this early one after he took the race lead. But the gap seems to be okay for now. The 95 seems to be holding on it. When we talked to Aiden Kirker under that yellow, he talked about taking care of the right rear. That's what he said. He said you have to take care of the right rear the most because that seems to be one of the tires that wears down the most, and it could be the difference between how quick you are on this racetrack or how slow you can be on this racetrack, especially into turns 3 and 4. Now, of course, in terms of the modern Phoenix in real life, on the real side of things, it's flip-flop. So 1 and 2 is this set of corners that they're in right now. 3 and 4 seems to be the other side of the corners. But in the iRacing service, since the start-finish line is still down there as they just cross it now to breach lap number 42, they have to go into turn number 1 and 2 here, and this is the most part of the track where it's banked the most, and then you have a sweeping long least banked corner into 3 and 4. It's kind of relatively flat compared to 1 and 2, so that's where the right rear gets hurt the most. That's where a lot of the looseness in the race cars can happen as you're trying to get in the throttle. But as we're observing this battle, I think Cole Williams has finally found a way to chip at the gap just a little bit through this run. As we're going in just a couple of laps, that 42 has already started to bridge the gap a little bit, so we might just see another lead change for the moment.
Yeah, the last couple laps, I've been looking at these lap times. Cole Williams has been faster, and 3 laps ago, he was about 1/10 quicker. He might get another 10th out of the lead this lap. He's been continuously chipping in, and it goes back to those tires, as I was mentioning. Let's see, this time, he ran a 28.1. Parker White ran a 28.2, but you see Cole Williams way up high in the middle of 1 and 2. He might have missed the entry there just a little bit, so he lost all that ground that he had made up.
He lost a little bit of time. He lost a couple of tenths there, just trying to get the most he can. And as you're seeing, just trying to put in the throttle off turn 4, it is not easy whatsoever, because the tires start to spin. The car will feel like it wants to come around, and then obviously to couple with in turns 1 and 2, where he did overshoot it just a little bit, had to work to the high side. That lost him some more time in the process, and Kirker now holds still. I think the battle for 4th has now just tamed between Weileman, Mantova, and Duke. Duke seems to be the one that has fallen back the most out of this group. Mantova did go by Duke a little bit earlier in this run, and now might have a chance to charge and within striking distance of the 51. This is a little bit loose off of turn 4, so number 20 of Shane Mantova can find his way to 4th, or at least maybe he can try to go up to the front, as he's kind of shown just a little bit through this race. And about Shane Mantova, if you look at the colors on his race car, the purple and pink colors, that is a new team, and your eyes are not fooling you. That is a new team that Shane Mantova has joined. So he was a free agent after SPG closed down. He was a member of SPG for a while, and now Flying Arrows took the chance on him, as well as Blaze McKinney. So now he's not only on a new team, but he's on a team with a little friend of his that he can work well together with.
Yeah, right now, side by side with Brady Weileman, trying to take over that 4th spot, using that dog leg to try and cut the track, gain any bit of advantage. But right now, it's not exactly working. You see Brady Weileman actually getting the edge on the outside of 3 and 4, which is probably the preferred line to make a pass, unless right there you see Weileman really loose in turn 4, which is inviting Shane Mantova. I believe Josh Duke had a moment off turn number 4, but he was able to keep it going.
I mean, no harm, no foul. We stay green flag racing, and as we were talking about Cole Williams just slowly chipping in the gap, he just did it once again, this time by and the last couple of times by. So as we're reaching the halfway portion of this race, we could see side by side and a potential lead change, as Cole Williams will try to retain the position that he started this race in on the pole. And Parker White did start 2nd. Those two have been strong this whole race. Kirker now has just fallen back, I believe, about a second or so behind the race leader, a second, 1.6, over 1.5 seconds over from the race leader. So Kirker has fallen back a little bit through this run, and now I think Cole had a little bit of a shot. It's still an easy battle between these two, and it's still not really let up. The gap is still about, I'd say, 0.25 seconds, but now it could be more as Cole gets loose down to the exit of turn number 2. And he definitely might lose a spot to Aiden Kirker, as he's going to use the apron to get out of harm's way. And now Williams might find his way down pit road.
Yeah, you saw him really get sideways. I think he's about to come down pit road here. Yes, he will. So pit road speed here to try and get 4 tires, I imagine. Question is, will anybody else follow him? I doubt it.
No, he's out of this race. He's out of the race.
Well, and this goes back to what we talked about at the top of the show. He won last week, so he does not have to worry about being in this race.
At least he can carry some last place points. He will actually finish ahead of 3 other drivers that entered tonight's event, so it won't be too hard of a hit. It will kind of soften the blow, but I guess he kind of had enough there. There's another driver down pit road. That's Brady Weileman in the 51. Not sure whether he had a moment to go down pit road, but he just went a lap down to the racetrack, taking some service, getting some tires, maybe getting some fuel along the way. Josh Duke is getting by. Mantova gets by. So now Weileman is 5th, 1 lap down, with Parker White, I think, with nobody contending apart from Kirker, that's about a second and change behind.
Yeah, interesting set of events going on here these last couple laps. We have Cole Williams parking it essentially after that huge moment off turn 2. But he has that win, and luckily for him, he's able to stay in the championship. As actually, Ray Wildman has disconnected.
Also, Brady Wildman's also out of this race as well. Went down pit road, had a moment, and he decided his race will be through and over with. So Josh Duke will get the upper hand in this battle. Cuts our field down to about 5, or now 4 on the racetrack, as Jaden Lawson is still technically on the racetrack, but he's on pit road with damage, and I believe he'll just stay there from the rest of the race forward through the end. So now just 4 cars left to fight for this win, and as we're about halfway through the race, it's a good time to go through the field, and we'll start, of course, with the driver of the 95, who's been doing well so far in this race. Has started this race from second. He got up to first, and ever since then, he has not let go. Had a little bit of a fight from Cole Williams, but was able to hold him off for the most part. And Parker White now just trying to get a win, and he could potentially lock himself into the championship 4 with a win and not have to worry about what's going to happen in the next race at Bristol to fight for that championship berth. So Parker White just got to hold on for the next half of this race, and he could be a winner today.
Teammate of Cole Williams, who locked himself into the championship last week, Aiden Kirker. Aiden is one of those top 3 drivers who will likely make this championship 4 on points, but we all know he is capable of winning. Can he go up there and catch Parker White to battle for this win? Will he need a caution if he wants to get up there and battle for the win? We don't know. What we do know is that he's fast, and he will be able to challenge should he get the chance to get up there beside that 95.
Josh Duke came into this race under the cut line and was basically in a must-win situation and trying to get his way out. He said that on Twitter right before this race, unveiling his paint scheme and kind of a tribute to John Hunter Nemechek's fire alarm services car, but this time on a Toyota Camry, mixed in with EO Media Racing and Z's Custom Diecast. Of course, that Toyota Camry did one last week, of course, in a different color in red. You see him a little bit loose as Di Mantova's around right behind him. Will that cause the yellow? Could be, as he's around. He's got some damage. Stopped on the racetrack under the apron, but we stay green. I'm surprised we stayed green there.
Wow. That's probably because he was all the way on the bottom of the dog leg. I don't think iRacing registered that since he was way off the racing line. So we stay green. He's going to likely lose a lap here. He's going to bring it down pit road, Shane Di Mantova is, and that'll leave just the top 3 on the lead lap.
So that pushes us down to 3. It whittles us down to just 3, and Parker, Aiden, Josh. And was obviously talking about Josh Duke, but for Shane Di Mantova, his new team, and again, another appearance in this league like he has done a couple of times this season. And this one and now coming to a halt, as he's going to make his way down pit road to get some service. Could possibly be out of this race. The rest of the field shows Brady Wildman, who started this race fairly consistent, but ever since his mishap, he's out of this race. Cole Williams, also championship 4 contender in 2 weeks. He will be finishing in 6th, most likely tonight. Eli O'Quinn also quit early in this race with damage. Jaden Lawson with his wreck also is in the garage. Brianna Lavin is also in the garage as well. So now just 3 drivers on the lead lap. Shane Di Mantova does elect to stay out on the racetrack, so he's not going to go to the garage, but he is 2 laps down, so he will need some yellows to supplement and to help him to get back onto this lead lap as Parker White continues to lead this race.
Yeah, it seems as though we see exactly how this race is going to go. Parker White has about a 1.8 second lead over Aiden Kirker. Unless Aiden is really saving his tires, which Parker could be doing now that Cole isn't there to apply pressure to him. So it's a matter of who's saving tires and who will have the better set of tires for these last, 30, 40 laps of this race. So we'll have to see what happens. Could there be a caution? We don't know. It's unlikely now compared to before because we have less cars on the racetrack. So that might breed the chance of a green flag run to the finish. So right now we're looking at Parker White versus Aiden Kirker. Parker White having almost a 2-second lead. Can he hold on to it, and can he win his way to the championship round?
He's got to hold on from here on out. And Parker White has been just phenomenal in this season since his entrance. I think you can kind of compare it in the sense to the Season 2 Bunch of Lawn Care Series with Nick Miller, where kind of entered in the season kind of midway through, but started off in dominant fashion in his debut and picks up wins and then has a shot at the title as we move forward in this season. That's exactly what Nick Miller did in the second season of the Bunch of Lawn Care Series. He joined midway through, picked up a win at Charlotte, picked up a win at Kansas, secured his spot into the championship 4. Unfortunately, was not the victor of the championship, but still found his way through even with missing a good chunk of the races. A lot of drivers leaving in points. Parker White has shown sort of that similar style of performance in this league in this season, dominating over even some of the drivers who have been here since the very beginning in this season. And Parker White now on the verge of locking himself into the championship 4. Should we stay green from here on out, Shane DiMantova is going to get by on the fresh tires.
Yeah, Shane DiMantova's been catching him, obviously, fresher tires from having pitted. And I think Parker will just think of kindly of letting him go here. As you see there, just no contest. Fresher tires mean so much here. So now Shane DiMantova is 1 lap down. Should a caution come out, I don't know by who, but if a caution were to come out right now, Shane DiMantova would be in the free pass position, being 1 lap down. So from here on out, unless Josh Duke gets lapped by the end of this race, I think Shane DiMantova would be hoping for a caution just so he can get back on the lead lap. But the gap is down to about 1.5 seconds between Parker White and Aiden Kirker.
And so this fight is not necessarily over yet. Could see Kirker trying to chip in the gap just like Cole Williams did, and could see over this long run, could see that 39 start to go in, start to find his way. It's now 1.48 this time by. It's now 1.4 flat. So there's no question that Aiden Kirker is starting to find his way closer to the back bumper of that 95, and we could potentially see a battle for the race win. So I don't think Parker is just out of the woods yet. I don't think he's secured with this win. He just needs to hold on, as the 39 is going to try to do everything he can. This is going to be the closest battle on track, as Josh Duke is about more than 14 seconds behind these leaders, as Parker might actually get up to lapping him soon enough in this race if he's a little bit quicker, as Duke's coming off turn 4. Parker White's about half a track in front off of turn number 2. So that could be the battle, and you just saw Shane DiMantova unlap himself. He is now just 1 lap down, so if a yellow comes out, he will be the lucky dog, and he can find his way back to the lead lap, try to make something of a case for the top 4, top 3, maybe even try to work out for the win. But it seems to be the top 2. It was Cole Williams and Parker White, but now it's Parker White and Aiden Kirker being the fastest on the track. Last time around, 1.3 seconds between the two.
Yeah, and if you're Aiden Kirker, you want to get up there and challenge Parker White, but you know that right now, at least, it's about applying pressure. Making him have to look at the lap times, making him have to look at the gap, having to look in the mirror. The more you get him to look at the mirror and looking at all those other things, the more you get him on your heels, the slower he's going to run, the harder he's going to push, the more tires he's going to use up. The more you can make him do that, the better off you'll be if you can continue running your pace. The gap is under a second between Parker White and Aiden Kirker.
Yeah, it's still going down each and every lap, so that 95 has got to find some speed. But you do bring up a good point, Francisco, about playing the mind games to the drivers. It's not just about the equipment. It's not just about the race cars. Of course, fresh tires do prevail at tracks like these where you can easily shoot by somebody on fresher tires as opposed to somebody on wary and older tires. But you play the mind games in the cockpits with the drivers around you. You can force a driver to make a mistake. You can push a driver to push harder in his race car than he has to, which could result in a mistake, or it could result in the driver using up too much of the car, and then all of a sudden later in the run, that driver is struggling. That could happen with either driver. We saw it with Cole Williams. We could see it with Parker White. We saw with Cole Williams how when he got to the back bumper, when he got close to Parker White, he was making mistakes trying to push that car. He was trying to get closer to that 95, and as he was doing that, as he was desperately trying to get there, he was slowly and slowly wearing his car out even more to that 95 in comparison. So then that 42 started falling back, and then he wasn't really able to get back up to the gap until, of course, he made that mistake off turn 2 where the rear tire started spinning out. That could also happen to Kirker. That could happen to Parker White, where he could see a driver in his rearview mirror. He could get a little bit worried, start to feel the pressure, and then all of a sudden he's pushing a little bit harder than he realizes, and all of a sudden he could be pushed to a mistake. But for now, at least behind the wheel on that 95, it's staying stagnant. Gap is now up to about 1.2 last time by, the last time they measured it. So at this point in time, I think it's remaining kind of stagnant between the two for the most part.
Yeah, Aiden Kirker had a moment off turn 2 a few laps ago, so that probably has a little bit to do with why that gap increased just a slight bit. probably heated up the tires just a bit, and now he's trying his best to, cool it off, try and recompose himself, and try and cut the lead back. He maintained it that last lap, so that's a start. You start maintaining the gap, and then you begin to chip in. So, just staying there, just keeping that gap, making Parker White have to realize that you are there, that you are not going to go away is enough at this current moment of time. Eventually, you're going to have to get closer if you want to, force him into a mistake, force him to do something different. You have to get closer to do that, but obviously that starts with maintaining the gap and making him have to realize that you're going to be a threat by the end of this race. And he chipped in about 400ths in that lap.
Yeah, and then also I was just about to say that after you concluded your sentence. I was just about to mention about the time. There's 25 laps to go in this race now, crossing line lap number 75. So time is running out sooner or later. You have a good amount of time if you're Aiden Kirker behind the wheel. You have a good amount of time to try and chip that gap. It's not necessarily over just yet, but how much time do you consume? How much time do you need to consume, or how much are you going to try and consume in order to get up to the front and try to catch your way up to the front? Or if the gap starts to get any more, you start making mistakes. Now that increases the amount of work you have to do comparable with the time that you have left. And then all of a sudden, you're kind of getting in this run, you're focusing, and all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, you're past 20 laps, and all of a sudden, you're in the final 10 laps of this race, and then you have to suddenly make a move. So now the question to go to you, Francisco, is how much time now does Kirker need to use up? What does he have to do now in this span of time with less than 25 to go to catch up to Parker and potentially be a threat to win this race now?
I don't know exactly what the tire situation for either driver is at this current moment of time, but we're looking at the lap count. We're about to reach 23 laps to go. If I'm Aiden Kirker, if I can keep it to about a second and then with 15 to go, try and chip in as much as I can, I'd do that. I'd have to see just how the tire information would be in order to make a proper assessment. But as of right now, he is cutting the gap hundredths at a time each lap, which is crucial because even though there's just over 20 laps to go, a couple hundredths could mean he can get there by the time the white flag is out. And knowing that there's a spot on the championship round at stake for these guys, I think they're willing to do anything.
Yeah, they should be willing to do a lot for a title. Again, mentioned a little bit earlier, as Jaden Lawson mentioned earlier in the day before we set the green flag here and before all the drivers got ready to go here at Phoenix Raceway under the sun. It was $75, a $75 incentive and cash prize for the winner of the championship for whoever takes the title away the Homestead in 2 weeks. Of course, we still don't know who that's going to be, but in terms of that, there is a substantial reward for winning the title. There is something to be motivated about, something as rewardful when you win this title, so you will have something to work for in terms of a reward. If it was just for nothing, maybe the motivation would be a little bit less, but with that cash prize, kind of gives the drivers a little more drive, no pun intended, in terms of wanting to go for that title. So Kirker now will just have to do anything. Parker, I think, in either case, actually with this top three, in any case, a win means everything. I know Duke is 17.7 seconds behind with 20 laps to go. Unless the yellow comes out, Josh may not have a chance to go for this race win unless the top two wreck or have some sort of miracle event to happen. But these two, remember, are fighting for a title. This win could be the difference between either making it or having momentum and not having momentum and going into Homestead kind of with doubts on the way.
Yeah, Parker White is really trying to push his car now, knowing that time's running out. You see him there up the racetrack in 3 and 4. He's been really pushing at these last couple laps. He's probably feeling that pressure from Aiden Kirker, and Aiden's been a little bit smoother. So even though he grew the gap, now the gap is shrinking to under a second. So Parker White using up his tires just a little bit, trying to grow the gap, and it may end up hurting him on the back. And you see sideways off turn 2.
Yeah, he's trying to work up the rear tires, and now they're getting fed up with him and fed up with the race car, so they're starting to kick him loose a little bit. He's been a little more loose than we've seen him pretty much all race long. I know, Francisco, you did mention earlier in this run where he was trying to catch up to Cole Williams. He had a little bit of a moment loose. There's Aiden Kirker getting loose off turn 4, though. But now Parker White is slowly starting to push his race car, but Aiden is also pushing as well. So it's now probably going to come down to the mistakes that either driver makes or just how the car starts to respond. All of a sudden, you can have the 95 shoot up the racetrack being loose in a corner like 3 and 4, even in 1 and 2, or you could have the same situation with the 39. But now, as we come to 17 laps to go, gap was 0.8 last time, and we'll see how much it will be this time as Kirker tries to reel the 95 in.
Yeah, the gap stays. It kind of increased a little bit to .9, but nonetheless under 1 second. So he's there basically compared to how he was a couple laps ago at 2 seconds. So right there, he's within a second. He needs to continue to chip in if he wants to have any shot at Parker White, barring any late cautions that may happen here, which as it stands right now does not look possible. But Parker clipped a little bit of apron there, got a little bit loose, but nothing terrible there. So these guys are fighting for grip, fighting to try and keep the position and gain time on each other. But with the way it's going in the last couple laps, we may see Aiden Kirker close up because we don't know. Maybe he's not exactly pushing his car to the limits. Maybe he is trying to wait until those final 10 laps to make a big charge to that 95. We just don't know. That's why we're here waiting to see what happens.
And we're seeing the arc that 39 is taking, especially in 3 and 4. You see him kind of kick up a little bit, about a half a lane up in 3 and 4. And then all of a sudden you see him start to cut down onto the racetrack in order to get as much throttle, get that preferred exit, and have a time advantage over White. Last time around, it was about 8.57. This time, as across the line, it was .858. So it was just about 1/1000th of a second or so that kind of grew a little bit through. So it's remained stagnant as we reach 14, now 13 laps to go at the line. So we're still with some time on our hands for Kirker to try and get up to this lead. Now down to .841, so it is slowly going down. This could be a threat, and this could be a challenge, maybe close enough soon, Francisco. I'm waiting.
Yeah, I don't want to go off topic, but I do want to say that we have lost Shane DiMantova, so add him to the list of retirees from this race. So Josh Duke will most likely be guaranteed third place unless something happens to these two, but I think they're good and they respect each other, so I don't think anything crazy will happen between these two for the win. But under 8/10 now, Aiden Kirker is starting to close the gap on Parker White, and we've seen the back end step out in Parker White's car off turn 2 a couple of times. So, well, this is going to get good here, Kenneth. We're in for 2 weeks in a row with an interesting finish.
And we could be in a row for, or we could be in store for another fun finish and another close finish at Phoenix Raceway. If you watched when we were here earlier in this season, you saw the green-white checkered battle between Blaze McKinney and Cole Williams, how close that was, how crucial that was, and how fun that was to watch. This could be the possible situation as Kirker kind of grew the gap between the two to about a little bit over a second, maybe a little bit under now. So it grew a little bit between the two, but now as Parker White comes through 3 and 4, he'll take 10 laps to go from Phoenix to try and capture a championship 4 berth.
Yeah, right now it's really all or nothing for Aiden Kirker. He has to start going now. It's under about 9/10 of a second that time, so he gained a 10th that lap, but he can't do this business where he's gaining and losing if he wants to win this race. He needs to try and catch him and just purely catch him. He cannot continue to give up time. And I know it's difficult. Believe me, I know it's difficult, but being in this position, if you really want this win, you're going to have to give it all you got and continue to close the gap. And you can't say, I'm going to save a little bit now and attack a little bit. He has to go now, down to 8/10.
It's now or never. .834 between the two last time by as they reach 9 laps to go on the back straightaway to the dog leg. You're on board right now with the 39 of Kirker. Now I'm going to look to the rear as you see that 95 should be able to see that black Toyota Camry right in his mirror, slowly approaching, maybe slowly backing out just a little bit. That last time by as we check, it is .743, so it is going down. Now is the time. You cannot let go. You cannot be the driver to gain the gap again. You have to attack now. That 39 has to do whatever he can to try and catch up to this 95 as the 95 still tries to hold on strong. He's going to catch 8 laps to go from Phoenix at the line.
Parker was sideways off 2, Aiden sideways off 4. These guys are absolutely driving the wheels off this car. The lead maintains about 3/4 of a second. This is as close as it's been since the start of the race, since the start of the restart, really. So Aiden just needs to continue doing this, but he may run out of laps if he does not do it quick enough. So right now, 8 laps to go, coming to 7. He needs to go now to be in a position to where he can make a move on the final lap, because he cannot make a move from how far back he is right now. He needs to get closer. He needs to be about 2 to 3/10 behind him at the furthest to really make a move. The gap grows to 8/10.
So it's back up to 8/10. Kirker might be just losing time. He has to think now. Maybe I'm losing time. I might not have enough to catch up to that 95 unless that 95 just has a moment where he's either wildly loose or loses just a lot of time. Maybe something could happen within these next laps that could shrink the gap even further. The 39's loose off turn 4. As we approach lap number 95, we're getting close to 5 laps to go, but now it's the closest it's ever been. 0.698. So Kirker's still not out of this yet, but he does maybe not have enough time.
He has his work cut out for him, but could it be too little too late? He's continuously closing the gap, forcing Parker White to have to look in his mirror. I bet Parker White is trying his best to look out, but he cannot ignore that 39. I think he's going to grow the gap just a tad bit that lap. And yup, he grew it about 1/10 that time to back to 3/4. So like as I've said, Aiden cannot afford to lose time. He needs to only gain, and right now it's not looking too good for him.
Only driver to contend for the lead this race has been Cole Williams. Kirker has been as far up to second through this race. He has never taken the lead in this race so far. He still does have the opportunity. 4 laps to go at the line for Parker White. Parker White took that lead from Cole Williams after that restart, after starting on the inside, and has never let go. His sights have been straight on the checkered flag. You see one driver down there, I think that's Josh Duke, who's at risk. He went off of pit road, so he will be 1 lap down, but he will still finish in this podium spot. Gap is up to 0.823. This time at the line, 3 to go from Phoenix.
Yeah, you see Aiden giving it all he's got, and he's sideways off turn 4, and he's into the inside wall.
This could be it. That should seal the deal for Kirker, as he's got hard damage to the left side after hitting the inside wall off turn 4. There's Duke going to try and maintain his way by, and that definitely will seal the deal. It'll grow the gap over a second, over 2, maybe over 3, 4, 5 seconds to Aiden Kirker. 2 laps to go for Parker White.
Yeah, he can basically just take it easy now. He knows he has the win locked up as long as he's able to keep it straight and point it in the right direction. You can tell he's going much slower than he has been these last couple laps. He knows that he just needs to get back to the line.
Just has to hold on, and in a season that has been insane for that 95, he's going to try and continue it. Got a couple wins through this season. He's going to take the white flag one more time around from the Desert Valley, and it's all Parker White up in front. No closure, no drivers to contend with anymore. It is now about 4.1 seconds between Kirker and White. White, after coming through his debut, winning, after making his way through the playoffs, surviving through his consistency, will now have a shot and a spot locked in into the championship for Homestead. Coming off turn 4, Parker White will hold on and win at Phoenix Raceway. Another win to add on to this season, and most importantly, a spot to save for him in the championship 4 to join Cole Williams, leaving 2 spots open for the rest of the guys behind. A performance worthy of note for that 95 machine. And what a way to hold off Kirker in those final 20 laps or so.
Yeah, good win by Parker White. He definitely showed the strong hand there. Despite Aiden putting all the sorts of pressure on Parker, he was able to keep the car in the lead, maintain the gap, and you can see there he's about to celebrate knowing that he has a spot in the championship round. So I think Parker's going to celebrate knowing he has another chance at a championship. At a track, and let's not forget, this race probably means a lot to him. He's going to race for a championship. He won at this track after coming up short from one not too long ago in Bundren. So I think he's going to be real happy about this, and he's going to try and go into Homestead with the mindset of, can I make up for that? And I think he could.
White celebrates in front of the virtual crowd at Phoenix Raceway, and an unbelievable showing from that 95 in this race. We'll take a look at your race results, see exactly where every driver finished, and it was 9 to finish on the checkered flag. Parker White wins this race, locks himself into the championship 4 at Homestead in 2 weeks. Will not have to worry about the championship, or at least fighting for points at Bristol next week. Aiden Kirker comes up just short after a mistake late in the race, pushes him to second. KBueno Racing finishes second and third, with Josh Duke holding on to a podium spot. That definitely could gain him some crucial points going into, or at least trying to get over the cutoff from drivers who did miss tonight. Shane Mantova in his Flying Arrows debut in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series. He will finish in the 4th spot. Brady Mileman will hold on to top 5. He left this race early, so he is 50 laps down. Cole Williams also with a mistake left this race. He will have a spot locked into the championship 4, but he finishes 6th nonetheless. Eli O'Quinn with an early wreck finishes 7th. Jaden Lawson went to the garage early in this race, 8th, 95 laps down. Brianna Lavin was your final driver to file out this 9-car grid, 101 laps down. She did not start this race and started practically from the garage. When we come back, we'll have more coverage, and we'll have our KBRN post-race coverage brought to you by SDC, and our recaps, our interviews with the top 3, and more as we try to rack up and keep up our thoughts with what's happening here, what's going to happen through Bristol and Homestead in the Championship 4. Stay tuned. We got more coming next. You're watching the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series on the KBueno Racing Network. Welcome back to the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series from the Phoenix Raceway, where we kick off our KBRN post-race coverage, brought to you by SDC. And we had just concluded 100 laps here from the Phoenix Raceway, and we finally have a second driver to join Cole Williams in terms of the Championship 4 grid. It was looking like this. If you look at this now, this is now outdated, as Parker White, you see him, the third driver there on that list in the round of 8. He will join as the second driver in the Championship 4 with Cole Williams, who locked himself at Kansas last week. And with that, we're going to start our interview section and kind of meet up with all the drivers, get their thoughts on what has been a miraculous night or miraculous afternoon here from the Phoenix Raceway and the Desert Valley. And with that, we're going to go to Victory Lane and meet with Parker White, your winner and Championship 4 contender from Phoenix. And Parker, now joining you in Victory Lane. congratulations. You are locked in. You have your spot locked into the Championship 4. So you're going to be fighting securely for a championship at Homestead in 2 weeks with Cole Williams. Just tell us your thoughts now after winning tonight and having a shot at a title. Not once, but twice now on the KBueno Racing Network.
Yeah, that definitely was not an easy race, and I'm just so glad to be locked into Homestead. That first, 30-lap run, I was, so bad with the long run. I remember there was one point where I overdrove turn 1, then right from there just all went downhill. Then that caution at lap, I think, 27 or something saved me, and then we just went green from the end there, and I learned from my mistakes in the first run, and I tried to not repeat them in the second run. I remember I overdrove turn 1 once, and then the car started to go downhill a little. Then I just stopped making those mistakes, and then was able to hold off Aiden there at the end to pick up the win.
Well, that learning curve definitely proved to pay off at the end of this race. You win, and you had kind of a semi-battle with Aiden Kirker there at the end. Obviously, you were fighting with Cole Williams. You took over the race lead. Cole had a little bit of a mistake, and all of a sudden he ends up in the garage. He stopped the racing midway through, and then all of a sudden you have another contender to fight for the lead in Aiden Kirker. At the end there specifically, was there any sort of concern from behind the wheel of your race car about Aiden Kirker behind you, or was it all just staying smooth and staying consistent just to hold on to the win?
Oh yeah, there was definitely a ton of concern because I was just holding on, trying to keep him behind me. I remember I would have him a second behind me, then all of a sudden it'd be 7/10, and then go back to a second. So it definitely was not easy. I had to really work the wheel inside that race car, and yeah, I just had to hold on till the end.
We definitely did hold on. And Parker, before we let you go celebrate the rest of this race or the rest of this afternoon, is there anybody you'd just like to thank, any sponsors, teams, or really anyone else you'd just like to give a shout out and give your love to for tonight's victory?
Yeah, I've got to thank my team, McGrath Sim Sport, and of course you guys at KBRN, and a few sponsors, Buncher Lawn Care and Eel Media.
All right, Parker, well, our safe congratulations to you for your win here at Phoenix Raceway. And again, congratulations on you securing your spot into the Championship 4. We look forward to seeing what you can do at Homestead. Of course, I know Bristol's next week, but we look forward to see you in the rest of these races coming in next week and for on.
All right, thank you.
Parker White, your winner here tonight from Phoenix Raceway. Gonna skip back to second, where Aiden Kirker, our in-race supporter, has now gotten out of his race car, and he has met up with KBRN's own Francisco Bacallao on pit road.
Hey Aiden, this is Francisco from the KBRN booth. You got me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
That P2 was all the effort you could have and all the push that you had in that car. You were unable to catch Parker White, but it wasn't for lack of trying. What do you think you could have done differently to potentially get close to him?
I think that I spun the car out, or almost spun the car out, hit the wall on the inside. If I didn't push the throttle, maybe could have just kind of kept catching him, because I started to catch him slowly right there. Maybe he would have made a mistake, and maybe I could have gotten close to him, but maybe I could have kept the gap closer earlier on the run. I don't really know. I feel like I gave it my all. It was definitely a fun race. Always a good win for Parker. Second place is nice, and this right now it kind of sucks because spot in the Final Four is on the line, but we'll just get him next week at Bristol.
Yeah, you mentioned the Final Four spot. Your teammate Cole Williams in the Championship 4. Now Parker White locks himself into the Championship 4. We've talked about sort of the big three that is existing and emerging in these playoffs. So you're the last of those big three. Do you think that you could advance into the Championship 4 on points, or do you think you're going to win Bristol to get in there?
I feel pretty strong that I'll be fine on points. I think I got a pretty good gap. Just a solid finish today should put me almost locked in. I think that we'll have a good run next week at Bristol. We could get a win, but I don't think it's necessary. But I'd always like to take a checker flag home, though.
All right. One last thing is, who do you want to thank for making this strong P2 effort possible?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody over at Eel Media Racing, our sponsors, Z's Custom Diecast, Appella Gaming, and Stealth Energy. Always glad to work with those guys. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah, the P2 was definitely not lack of effort. We're looking forward to seeing you at Bristol So good luck, Aiden. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
That's Aiden Kirker coming on P2, just a little bit short of the race win. Set a checker flag would be nice, and of course, you could tell that his motivations were set straight on that checkered flag, especially at the end of this race, trying to catch up to Parker White. Well, we have caught up with third place on our podium finisher, Josh Duke, and we'll bring him in, think his thoughts about tonight's race. And Josh, you came into this race under the cutoff in terms of the points, at risk of elimination. You go into this race at quite possibly a very, very well put situation with Michael Kenner not here, Colby Wells not here, Dylan Basin not here for this race. You did have Brady Weileman, but you did get the upper hand. Give us your takeaways now that you could have a better spot in the points and your journey to get one of those last spots in the championship 4 next week at Bristol.
Well, now it feels more possible than it did before. I went into here, this was my first race ever at Phoenix, so I didn't know what to expect. I got caught up in a few things in the beginning of the race, and then gathered it back up, and then got past a few cars and finished third.
Well, you said earlier today, I know I saw it on Twitter where you had posted right before, of course, unveiling your paint scheme, but in preparation for what was going to happen here at Phoenix, you said you were basically in a must-win to get to this championship 4 and to continue your stride to have a shot at the title in this LWRC NASCAR Cup Series season. But now that you have a little more to work with, now you have kind of a third-place finish and a good finish to carry on what's going to be needed now at Bristol in order to get to that championship 4. And when we get to Homestead, you'd be the ones that will be fighting for the title alongside Cole Williams, Parker White, and whoever else joins.
Yeah, I just have to stay out of all this stuff in Bristol. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to beat Brady by about 5 positions, and then possibly get the spot into the round of 4.
All right, Josh. Well, a valiant effort to hold on here for P3. But before we let you go, Josh, is there really anyone you'd just like to thank, team sponsors, or anyone you'd just like to give that shout out to for your run here tonight?
I'd like to thank Eel Media Racing, Z's Custom Diecast, Apella Gaming, Stealth Energy, you guys for broadcasting these races, Cole and Aiden for helping me out before the race figure out this track.
Josh Duke coming home in the podium spot in P3. Josh, we appreciate the time, and of course we look forward to seeing what you can do at Phoenix, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
That was Josh Duke, your third place finisher, and our final of the interviews here from Bristol, or not from Bristol, from Phoenix. Actually, Bristol will be next week. That's why it was on my mind. Bristol, it's a troublesome track, and Francisco, I'm not sure whether you were there to see it, but there was we had this previous race in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series from that very track. It turned out to be quite possibly one of the more chaotic races to file alongside Martinsville, which we did not broadcast Bristol. We did broadcast Martinsville, but now it's not just the regular season. It's not just experimenting at Bristol. Now it's a crucial time. Now it's key to get into the Championship 4, and now with just only 2 spots remaining in the Championship 4, it's just going to be a dogfight between those drivers below the cut line and in that bubble.
Yeah, Bristol's going to be insane. I'm looking at the points here, which are just about almost finished, but I can kind of make out what it's saying. The top 3, 2 of them are locked, as you know, Cole Williams, Parker White. Aiden Kirker is just 1 point behind Parker White, and Parker White is just 1 point behind Cole Williams. So those top 3 are basically right on top of each other. But looking back at the cutoff, Brady Weileman has a 7-point lead on Josh Duke for that final spot. So 7 positions is what's going to determine who gets into the championship. And that's not including whether Michael Kenner, Colby Wells, or Dylan Basin end up racing Bristol and one of them happen to get a win. So we won't know until those final laps at Bristol, but we have all week to sort of see what happens. And once race time comes next Saturday, it's going to be interesting.
Well, the drivers have 1 week to prepare, and especially those drivers going to be key to prepare even more for what will be a chaotic running at Bristol. We did not broadcast the last event at Bristol, but we definitely will be broadcasting this time around, and that'll be next week, Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That'll be right here on the KBueno Racing Network. You can catch that right here. Francisco and I will be covering the action as always as we creep even closer towards the championship race for this inaugural season at Homestead Miami Speedway in 2 weeks. And also another upcoming event, of course, the Belsha Lawn Care Series will kick off their season in the 200 at Daytona International Speedway. That season opener will start Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find that right here on the KBueno Racing Network. And just to give you a little bit of a warm-up before that, it'll be the Charlotte Challenge presented by Kent State University Sport Administration and Aaron Mulrooney. Going to take the Cup cars, move all the way to Charlotte Motor Speedway. That'll be the final race of their 3-race event championship, and we'll be having that coverage at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right before on the KBueno Racing Network. So definitely a lot to look forward to at Monday, starting off the season in the Belsha Lawn Care Series, and Saturday ending a season close in the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series. And that pretty much wraps things up for us here in this broadcast, and that wraps this broadcast up completely. Big thank you to all the people who make this happen and make this season happen for the LWRC NASCAR Cup Series, for Jaden Lawson for putting this lead together, and all the officials that make sure everything goes all swell each and every race throughout. And from all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Charlie Baier, Benjamin White, and my partner in the booth, Francisco Bacalhau, Kenneth Bueno, saying good rest of your afternoon from Phoenix.